Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. Last time I left off with Japan offers to surrender, talking about the Japanese official offer to surrender, which won't be happening for, it's still a few more days, but we're actually going to get to that here. But crowds wait and wait. August 1945. Excitement runs high. After the Domo flash that Japan was ready to surrender, crowds feverishly awaited official word from the White House. An incorrect radio flash announced the end on August 13th, and the pent-up people broke wild with premature celebrations. Here is a crowd watching the news bulletins in Times Square before the official end of the war, but paper already litters the street. Yeah, this is obviously people really excited for this. This is the end of the war, and people are excited because that means people are going to come home, no more fighting, things are going to go back, and if you're in the United States specifically, things are great. The economy's great, um, like unity, cohesion of the country is great. People are extremely excited for this, and they're gonna party. They're ready to party. Like they said, there's already some paper littering the streets. There'll be a little bit more. And I'm sure that premature, hey everyone, it's done, and it's like, oh, and not yet, not yet. The Japanese surrender is official. August 14th, 1945. World War II ends. President Truman reads the history-making Japanese surrender message to his cabinet, and the long-drawn, bloody hostilities of World War II are over. Flanking the president at his desk are Admiral William D. Leahy, Secretary of State James F. Byrnes, and former Secretary of State Cordell Hull. Below, the president joins in a three-way handshake with Burns and Hull. All over the world, millions of thankful people were praying and righteously celebrating. Official VJ Day had to wait for the formal signing of the surrender instrument, and the war would not end technically until proclaimed by the President or by a joint resolution by Congress. But for the millions of people who had fought and suffered through the weary 3 year and 250 days following Pearl Harbor, this day was a big one. Yeah, and obviously they're just talking about the United States' perspective on that. Obviously the war has been a little bit longer, and actually it really depends on who you ask. If you ask the Europeans, it would be when Germany invaded, so it would be about 1949, so it's what, about 6 years. Um, and if you ask the Chinese, it's even earlier than that, when the Japanese invade, which is about I believe 1931 or so. So like the war's been going on for a while, but this is officially the end. And there will be some skirmishing a little bit, like as things start to get down the wire and like, hey, guys, this is done, this is done, this is done. But it'll end, and obviously people will be very jubilant. Pearl Harbor at the end of Japanese War. August 14th, 1945. Victory fireworks. A display of fireworks quite different from that of December 7th, 1941, lights the night of August 14th, 1945, at Pearl Harbor. The infamy of Pearl Harbor was wiped clean by the complete victory over the foe which had struck so treacherously near 4 years before. Colored flares from every ship in the great naval base light the night sky. The unconditional surrender of Japan, with the Emperor taking orders from MacArthur, very clearly meant that the Americans would not forget Pearl Harbor. Yeah, obviously they're going to celebrate. And just look at the fireworks and everything like that. Imagine the colors that they would have had. Probably a lot of red, white, and blue, if we're going to be honest. But um, it would have been such a sight to behold, to be fair. And yeah, obviously, the Emperor taking orders from MacArthur which the Japanese people won't be told this, but everyone else um, will really show the sign of things that no, this is a total U.S. victory. The enemy is beneath us. They have befallen in front of us, and we won. We did it. We won't forget Pearl Harbor. It's one of those remember the Alamo situations. The victors and the vanquished. August 14th, 1945. Joy and sorrow. American sailors at Pearl Harbor go wild with joy, and Japanese prisoners on Guam take their defeat bitterly. As they listen with bowed heads to the news of surrender. American soldiers on Guam celebrated all night when the first Domi flash announced that Japan was ready to quit. In Manila, there were also riotous reactions to the news. The Yanks let go with anti-aircraft barrages in the Philippine capital, and several casualties resulted from their exuberance. Meanwhile, Russian troops kept right on fighting the war in Manchuria, where they made sweeping advances against almost no opposition. Yeah, you forget the Soviets are still fighting. Like they're still pushing, and the Japanese, I mean, they didn't have any opposition that they could really throw at the Soviets at this time. But yeah, I'm sure. Just look at these guys; they're probably happier than happy could be, really. And obviously, for the Japanese, it's a solemn day. They're very saddened because you got to remember, for them, their emperor admits, like he's like, hey, we have to surrender and things like that. It's the first time a lot of these people, even to be fair, had even heard the emperor's voice, um, and so it's a big deal to hear him. And hear this: the Japs come for their orders. August 19th, 1945. Arrive at Aishima. Although it was relatively simple for Washington to accept the Japanese surrender offer, it was a complicated matter to actually effect the surrender. A 16-man Japanese surrender delegation arrived at Aishima, off Okinawa, on August the 19th. From there, they were to fly to Manila, where they would receive their instructions and give information which would enable the Allies and the Japanese to get together for signing of a formal instrument of surrender, and for the intricate business of taking over the Nipponese Empire. The picture is a close-up of soured-faced Lieutenant General Tashihiro Kawabe, head of the Japanese delegation, that guy right there, and some of his aides. Yeah, this is one of the things. Surrender is not always just like, hey, look at that, we did it, woo, it's over. There's always, um, there's more to it than that. Like they say, you have to figure out, well, okay, what do we do with these people? What happens with this? What do we do with this? What do we do? That kind of stuff. That takes a little bit. The Japanese delegation arrives at Manila, August 19th, 1945. Shake, pal. Lieutenant General Tashihiro Kawabe extends his hand upon arrival at Manila, but Colonel S.F. Mashibir, official interpreter for American forces, catches himself in time and gestures with his hand, leaving the Japanese hand awkwardly grasping the air. Stern, correct, and businesslike deportment of the Americans soon put an end to the sudden hypocritical gesture of friendship by the Japanese. Yeah, and they would have seen this as kind of hypocritical. Like, oh, it's a sign of friendship, but it's like, we're not friends. Okay, we're not friends. This is your surrender. We need to do this properly, and then maybe later we can be friends. And of course, if you look at the post-war Japanese-United States relationship, friends quickly they become. A bouquet that smelled. August 19th, 1945. So sorry. One of the crewmen of the Japanese plane which brought emissaries to Aishima en route to Manila stands fervently beside the plane with a bouquet of flowers which he brought from Japan as a token of peace and friendship. Two of the emissaries hold their samurai swords right, and the American MPs in the background keep an eye on them. Yeah, obviously they are trying to, okay, we're surrendering, like, this is them giving up. But obviously Americans, it's a difference of culture per se. They're bringing this as a sign of their culture, and Americans are just wary. They want to make sure this goes right, of course. And so, of course, they're gonna eye them. With how fanatical the Japanese have been in this war, you can kind of understand their not so warm welcome. Credentials from Hirohito are presented. August 19th, 1945. Delegates get down to business. General Kawabe, Vice Chief of the Imperial Staff and head of NIP surrender delegation, lowers his head and presents credentials from the Emperor to austere Lieutenant General Richard Sutherland, Chief of Staff to General MacArthur. In the picture below, oh boy, tall General C.A. Wilby? This guy, look at him, he's freaking tall. Wilby? Oh boy, lost my place again. Leads General Kawabe and aides to their side of the conference table. The three Americans at the extreme right are, left to right, Major General S.J. Chamberlain, General Sutherland, and Rear Admiral Sherman. The Jap armistice mission was called into a night session only 3 hours after their long and tiring flight from Tokyo. Or to Tokyo, my bad. Oh no, from Tokyo. I said it right the first time. There's another Tokyo right there. And confusing. They returned to Tokyo after 19 hours in which they freely gave information for the effucation to surrender terms. Formal signing of the surrender papers was set for end of month. Yeah, the Japanese, they give up. Obviously, they know it's over, There was fighting, actually. There was almost an attempt at a coup against the emperor to keep the war going. Would that have worked? No, not even a little bit. The people of Japan really love their emperor. If there was an attempted coup, I don't know how that would have gone. But it gets put down before it gets out of hand. Actually, one of the reasons the Soviets joining the war does have a part to play is kind of dissuading a lot of those thoughts, because they're like, oh, great, we got to fight the Soviets too, like, one of those things. And they really didn't want to. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you have any ways you can improve these videos, leave a comment down below. I always read your comments. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.